What is going on there? What have you done? What kind of weird alien made that sound? Bingo, bango, bongo. It's Multiplier here with an amazing video full of catchphrases and useful information. Classic Multiplier right there. Anyway, what is going on in this sort of video thing? Basically, maybe a month or two ago, I did a video about my squeaky chair. No, I didn't. I actually did a video about the 5 business books you must read as a music producer / DJ. And it was one of my favorite videos I've done in a long time. And loads of you loved it. I got some great feedback. So what I thought would be cool is to tell you 5 podcasts you should listen to as a music producer / DJ / general music person on the internet doing creative, businessy, creative things, arts, music, etc. You get the idea. Anyway, why are podcasts so amazing? Just like audiobooks, you can fill in those little bits of your lives. You could be at a botanical garden. You could be driving a Lamborghini Aventador to see the honeys. You could be literally all of those things, or you could maybe be driving your Lamborghini Aventador to the botanical garden with the honeys. Whatever it is you do, you can fill in those little bits of your lives with useful stuff for your ears. Through the ears, into your brain, magical. Brilliant. Sounds amazing, right? Let's get into the actual content where I tell you what podcasts you need to listen to. Number 1, something you won't expect, but it's almost like my secret weapon. It is called The Comedian's Comedian. It is fantastic. It's done by this guy, Stuart Goldsmith, I think he's called. Yeah, Stuart Goldsmith. Stu Goldsmith, probably. And what he does is he interviews comedians, and believe it or not, there's a crazy load of parallels between comedy and music. So in the world of, say, music, you might be a DJ, and then you might do some ghostwriting, and then you want to play the festivals, and then you might do a bit of sample pack stuff. But whereas in the comedian world, you might grind it out on the stand-up circuit. So you got like the circuit, and then you try and do bigger stages, but you might also write for TV shows or do a bit of this, do a bit of that. So there's all these sort of parallel lines or curves, but it's really interesting because it turns out the world of stand-up comedy and comedy in general is just like music, except instead of doing music, you do comedy, which is brilliant. But the reason why this particular podcast is so good is the sort of questions that Stuart asks. So it's aimed exactly at those creative types trying to be comedians or trying to be music people, DJs, whatever. It's asking all those super relevant questions. Questions like, do you sit down for an hour every day to write comedy, or do you wait till you have an idea and then just write it down? Exactly the same parallels work for music. Or when did you know it was time to go pro? Or how do you deal with criticism? How did you do this? How did you do that? Really insightful questions for those low to middle and even to the higher end of anyone in a creative industry. So absolutely fantastic. Believe me, it's almost like my secret weapon for interesting insight into the world of a professional or semi-professional creative. The Comedian's Comedian, it is amazing. Check it out, seriously, even if you're not into stand-up comedy. I would say probably the best way to get into it is pick an interview with a comedian you recognize, so that at least you get into it because you recognize the comedian. Listen to a few of those, and then you can listen to the ones from comedians you don't recognize. It's all good information. Believe me, it's my secret weapon. That's why I started off with it. And that's why I've been talking about it. Watch it now. And then there is number 2. Number 2 is amazing. You've probably heard about it. If not, hear about it now. It is called Pensado's Place. And what it is a podcast by Dave Pensado. That's why it's called Pensado's Place, because of it's his name. So Dave Pensado. Who is Dave Pensado? If you haven't heard about him, hear about him now. Brilliant. He is arguably the best mixer in the world ever. Straight up, it's just a fact. Literally, he's one of those guys that the biggest labels in the world go to mix tracks. So guys like Michael Jackson, etc. Just the biggest artists in the world. I'm not really an expert on popular music, you might say. But yeah, literally, he mixes the biggest tracks in the world. That's his job. And what he does is a podcast every week in video or audio form, where first of all, he starts off with a useful tip, like a tutorial sort of thing. And then what he does, which is amazing, is get the best mixers, recording engineers, mastering engineers, songwriters, everything, just persons. He gets the best music persons in the world ever to come in and he interviews them. But here's the really cool bit. He interviews them at an advanced level. So if you're an intermediate to an advanced producer, let's say you've been producing 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you're struggling to get those super nerdy, advanced, conceptual, next level details into your brain, that's what, he's not over there, but that's what Pensado's place is all about. It is so good. Literally, it's just amazing to see a master at work, because Dave Pensado, straight up, there's no hyperbole here. He's in that upper echelon of producers, not mixers. He's in that upper echelon of mixers. Top 5 in the world right now, literally. Crazy stuff. So it's amazing just to see the way he talks about music. He'll talk about adding a delay to a vocal, not to make it sound cool, but to enhance the emotion in the vocal. Or he'll look at EQing a reverb or EQing a kick drum or something, not to make it sound huge or dope, but to make it more vibey or to enhance the feeling of the track. So just the way he talks about music and the tips he gives you are next level, I would say. Wowzers trousers. And on top of it, every week he gets in one of the biggest music people in the world for whatever reason to, pick their brains. It could be the person who mixed Kanye West's album, or it could be the person who, I don't know, worked on Michael Jackson's songs. I don't really know much about Michael Jackson, to be honest. It could be the person who did Kendrick Lamar's album. I think that was last week. It could be the person who did Jay-Z's thing or Kanye West's, or literally name the biggest albums in the world right now, the biggest albums that were around 10 years ago. He gets all these people in, songwriters, engineers, recording engineers, mastering engineers, sound designers, everybody. He gets them in and asks them questions. And the reason why this is so next level as well is the kind of insightful questions that Dave Pensado asks. It's just like Stuart Goldsmith on The Comedian's Comedian. The questions are insightful. It's not like, what plugin do you use, bro? Sweet kick, sweet bass. How do you make the rad bass? Instead, he'll be like, how do you approach the bass conceptually to achieve a certain result? So it's just fascinating stuff. It's not for beginners. I mean, I definitely recommend listening to it anyway, even if you're a beginner, just so you can get a feeling for how the best people in the world approach things. But if you're at that middle to advanced level, there is no resource better than Pensado's place. It is fantastic. Now, it's not all electronic music. It's mostly not electronic music, but that literally doesn't matter, because these guys are better than most of the electronic music producers, to be completely honest. And they even do, Dave Pensado and Dave and Herb and Dave actually get in electronic producers too. So I think Dr. P was on it, although he's probably the worst of all of them. Steve Duda was on it. Showtek was on it. And then one of the main guys who does most of the ghost mixing and ghost producing for all the biggest artists, he was on too. So yeah, if you want to see how the best ghost producer in the world does his stuff, check it out. I can't remember his name though, because he's a ghost. A spooky ghost. Next is Noisia Radio. Noisia Radio. You'll recognize the way I said that if you listen to Noisia Radio. Basically, Noisia, who in my opinion are the greatest electronic music producers, hands down, do a radio show. It's mostly songs, although they do a little bit of talking, which is always interesting, but it's mostly songs. And yeah, it's amazing because Noisia are Damen. I was going to say Daman, but then it's 3 of them. So Damen sounds a bit weird when I say Damen. Noisia, amazing. So imagine Noisia's. It's Noisia. Watch it. No, listen to it. It's not a watchable thing. Listen to it. It's Noisia. Noisia are so good. Now, it is mostly drum and bass. I would say maybe because Noisia is a drum and bass artist name, art collective entity. I don't know. Noisia is a drum and bass focused thing, but half the show isn't drum and bass. I think Noisia are playing a lot of this new genre called beats, this crazy next level sound design genre, which is blowing my mind. So if you like sound design, yeah, check out the Noisia Radio. Yeah, that's a reason to watch it. The sound design, because Noisia are the gods of sound design, even of songwriting, arguably, but especially of sound design. No one touches Noisia. So imagine what would happen if the gods of sound design came down from the clouds and sparkled music juice into your brain with that sound design choice. Then that's what happens in Noisia Radio. Seriously, 2/3 of everything Noisia play on that radio show is like, what is going on there? What have you done? What kind of weird alien made that sound? So who wouldn't want that in a radio show? It is fantastic. Also, just like how in Pensado's place you get a snippet into the brain of a master in just the way they talk about music, occasionally Noisia talk about music, even if it's just a sentence. So even just seeing how Noisia, like there's one main dude in Noisia, even just seeing how the one main dude in Noisia talks about songs is really illuminating, interesting, because I don't know, it's just amazing. Like if I could see music how he does, that would be amazing, because he's literally, in my opinion at least, and I am the most important person and the most correct in the universe, in my opinion, the main Noisia dude is the best dude at sound design, mixing, songwriting even as well, I'm going to say it, in the universe. So check it out. And I can't remember his name. There's three of them, but I can't, like, one of them's called Martain, one of them's called Taos, and then one of them's got another name, but I can't remember that. So, and I can't remember who's whom. So yeah, check it out. Noisia Radio. It is cool, and it's the only one of these 5 that actually has music songs playing in it. So that's cool. And then there's a motorbike outside making a load of racket on his little motorbike. Maniac. Solopreneur Hour. Solopreneur Hour. Solopreneur Hour. I think I'm saying that right. That is the name of podcast number 4. It is really cool. It is about business stuff. Why should you watch it? Basically, it gives you useful information about business and being a solopreneur, like a one-person entrepreneur, that solopreneur, solo one entrepreneur. Solopreneur Hour. It's an hour long. It's not always an hour long. That's why it's called Solopreneur Hour. Basically, he just gives you really insightful tips about business stuff, which is really good. But here's why I chose this one and not just another of these really insightful business podcasts. It's just because it's a really nice thing. It's quite hard to put into words. It's really raw. Like literally, he just turns it on. I don't know why I'm doing that. On. He presses record and records for anything from 20 minutes to 2 hours of him either by himself or reading out questions and answering them, or talking to really good business people. I'm good with words. Really successful business people, and even just creators, artists, really interesting people. He just talks to them in a really nice, natural way. So it's got all your business tips, actionable buzzword. He's got really useful, actionable advice, but at the same time, it's just a really nice, raw podcast where you get to see into the life of the person. I don't know, it's just nice. Check it out. If you want a business podcast that isn't too scripted, isn't too, I don't know, packaged. I'm a little bit against all the overly packaged business books and podcasts at times. If you want a more raw experience, while at the same time, I'm doing some crazy gesticulation right now, good word. If you want that combination of business usefulness, but also a nice raw personal podcast, Solopreneur Hour, check it out. It is cool. I need to learn some new adjectives. I say cool a lot. And amazing. And finally, Ask Gary Vee. That rhymed. I made it rhyme on purpose. So if you are in the world of building up yourself as a music producer, don't know what that is. If you're in the world of building yourself up as a music producer, as a social media brand, as an entity, as a something, if you've been doing that for at least 6 months and you haven't heard of Gary Vee or Gary Vaynerchuk, then you're doing something wrong, because Gary Vee is da man when it comes to social media marketing and branding on the internet, and also just business, although he does tend to specialize in social media marketing and branding. So he is the man, and this is basically his recent-ish podcast. He's been doing books for years. Crush It. It was his most famous book. You may have heard of it. Crush It from Gary Vaynerchuk. But yeah, he's got a podcast where he answers questions. So people ask questions, he answers them, and then it's amazing stuff. It's genuinely properly insightful business stuff. In fact, sometimes it's so insightful that it's easy to overlook the insight. So it can be easy to ignore the insightful information when you just get overwhelmed with this whole over-the-top extroverted bravado. But genuinely, the business insights he has are more wowzers trousers, crazy good. And on top of that, he's still got loads of really useful thoughts about life, business, leveling up everything you do. I don't know. He's been branching out more into the personal side, not just pure business, but it is fantastic. Check it out. It is called the Ask Gary... Again, I'm going to look it up for you. It is called the Ask Gary Vee Show. And then I suppose let's give you a bonus podcast as well, just for fun. It is called Blounce, and some of you may recognize it because it's my podcast I did with a friend about a year ago, so check it out if you want some bonus entertainment. Now, Blounce won't really change your life in an educational way like all the other 5 podcasts I've just mentioned will do, but Blounce is hilarious. It's incredibly raw, but in a good way. It's amazing. What I do, or what we did, because it's in the past now, that's how time works, it moves forwards. What me and my friend Obi did is basically just like how you know when you're in your car, you're playing some tunes, someone's choosing tunes, and you're just talking over the top. That's what's going on. So it's anything from 50 minutes to 2.5 hours, maybe. We lost track of time lots of times. So yeah, they get medium to long, but that's fantastic. And yeah, it's just like hanging out with me and someone else who's cool. Who wouldn't want to do that? No one. Wait, I've got in a muddle with my negatives. Is that right? Who knows? Who knows? Who cares? So check it out, Blounce, if you want some entertainment from last year. Should still be on iTunes. I haven't actually checked the feed in ages, but I'm pretty sure they're charging me for it still because, I don't know, just companies taking little $5 here and there endlessly out my account. Probably one of those $5 is to keep the podcast live. So check it out. It's called Blounce. It's fantastic. Oh yeah, also we get people in to talk. So it's not just me and my friend the whole time. Sometimes we get additional human beings in the room. Some of them are good at music. So in this one, there was this guy who came in called, forgotten his name, Sam, SPD. And yeah, we talk about music stuff. In other ones, I talk about drafts. So everything is covered in Blounce. So check that out as a bonus. And yeah, 5 podcasts you must listen to as a music producer / DJ. I've been Multiplier. Yeah.